heal, help and restore. We are here to heal, help and restore. We are here to heal, help and restore. We are here to heal, help and restore.
Malachi chapter 3, and we'll begin at verse 6. Malachi chapter 3, and we'll begin at verse 6. And the Bible reads, "For I am the Lord," just in case you didn't realize, just in case you didn't know, just in case you forgot. "I am the Lord." And then he says something that you need to receive, and I hope you receive in your spirit. He's making a declaration. You need to believe that declaration. There are some people that will come to you and say, "Hey, listen, I want to tell you about myself. I'm this way." And sometimes you can hear people say certain things, but then you end up testing them because maybe you don't quite believe them. There are some people who say, "I'm really nice." And what you say is, "Okay, well, we'll wait and see about that." There are some people who say, "You know what? I don't tolerate no foolishness." Okay, we'll see it. And sometimes you want to test certain people because there are some people, they say certain things, but they don't really mean it. God is talking here in Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6, and he's talking to the prophet, to the children of Israel, and he's trying to let them know something. But what he says, I need you to really receive it in your spirit. He says, "I'm the Lord." Lord is not his name. Lord is his position. So when somebody says Lord, they're talking about a position, not a name, and not even a particular person. The reason why it's capitalized is because many of you, if you go to work on Monday or Tuesday, many of you have a Lord, all right? It's called a supervisor or a boss, right? It is somebody that is over you. Sarah looked at her husband and she called him Lord, not because he dominated her, it's because she respected the position that God put him in. God put you as head, and she respected that, and she called him Lord. Lord does not mean I'm insignificant. It just recognizes who you are and the position you is. So what God says in verse 6 is, "I am over you." I'm using the definition instead of the word. I am over you. I am Lord. I created. I run this. That's in verse 6. "For I am the Lord." And then he says this, "I change not." Now, here's the problem. Your emotions change, your feelings change, your body changes. You get older, nobody gets younger. I don't care what Sassoon is telling you and Maybelline. I don't care what Maybelline is telling you. Nobody gets younger. Everybody our bodies are constantly changing. That 15-year-old fat that I had is different at this age. It has matured and held on for everlasting to everlasting. Our bodies are constantly changing. The world is constantly changing. If you noticed over the past few weeks, there are bombs and there are wars and stuff is happening in the middle of the night, and stuff that used to be peaceful is not peaceful. The laws that used to be there, now the state has changed. I think going into this year, there was like 100 and something laws that changed in Texas, unbeknownst maybe to you, or you didn't realize that stuff that used to be the standard, that line has been moved. And what God is trying to let you know is it really doesn't matter about your environment, your emotions. I don't care about how you feel. And you used to have this perspective in life, and now you feel like you've matured, and now you have a different perspective. And God, I see it differently now. You might see it differently now, but I need you to understand, I don't change. You change, I don't change. And so with that, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you can't be in a relationship with somebody where two people don't change. Right? Because if you have two people that don't change, then there's going to be war. Right? There's going to be war. And always the one that's most powerful, that's the one that's always going to win. right? That's the one that's always going to win. You have a relationship with your son. You have a relationship with your daughter. Somebody needs to change. Now, it's either going to be the parent, and some of y'all seen some shows where the parent changed, right? And the child was Lord, right? The child was Lord in that house. Or for some of y'all, depending on your parenting style, hey, listen, some of y'all have, you may have never read this verse before, but you have repeated it before. You've walked into the house and say, hey, listen, I run this. You use the definition. I'm over this and I'm not changing. So either you change or we're going to declare war, but I'm not moving. I'm not budging. And what God is saying is I don't change. Right? So can we receive that? God is not changing. You know what? I really feel like we just need to be a little bit more open in this season. And I know people kind of go through things. And sometimes, you know, back in the day, the church used to be real rigid and and I just feel like we just kind of need to kind of open up and just kind of be a little free. Hey, listen, you can be free, but I need you to understand the God that you serve, the same God in 1627 and the same God in AD 500 and the same God in the year 1000 is the same God in the year 2023. Right? So if you didn't like that God, if you read the history books and you ain't like that God in AD 5, hey, it's the same God that's dealing with. He said, listen, I don't change. Now, here's the beautiful thing about that. I can lean on something that don't move. Right? Something that's always changing, I don't want to lean on it because it was strong yesterday. It may not be strong today. That's why sometimes you don't want to count on certain people because sometimes people fickle. They change. You used to be real dependable on this, that, but now you done moved into another season. You're not as dependable and you kind of changed. Have anybody ever had that conversation? You changed on me, right? You're not the same. And so if you decide to change, okay, well, that's cool. But I like to depend on things that don't move. And things that don't move, matter of fact, you don't like to live in a house or an apartment where the foundation's constantly changing. You're like, no, I don't think we're supposed to be here. This is not, I'm not sleeping here. This is unstable. Many of you, if you had your choice, you would like to pick a vehicle that don't change, if they can make one. I would like to pick a vehicle that don't change. Every morning, you're trying to find out what attitude your vehicle is in. It's in a mood today. It's in a mood this week. So things are constantly changing, but you can't build or lean on anything that's constantly changing. So we end up finding things. That's why when they build a house, they try to dig as deep so they can get to the bedrock. When they build any type of institution, they try to make sure that it's built on a good foundation. So he says this, for I'm the Lord, I change not. Okay, now based upon that, and I hope I bless you this morning. He said, based upon that, therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. You didn't shout. And the reason why you didn't shout is because you don't quite understand what's going on. At this time, the children of Israel have sinned against God. You violated God. You've disrespected God, right? Let me put it in a different perspective. You have disrespected me and my family. You have violated me. You have stolen from me. You have spit on me and my name. You have brought harm and threatened me and my family. Now, what do you think I'm going to do to you? And I just want to let you know it ain't going to be prayer. Right? There are some of you right now, if you come for me, some of y'all got that in your spirit right now. You didn't walk into the Lord's house, but you got that spirit. Hey, listen, I love all y'all, but if you come for me, don't come for me, right? Have you ever had to warn somebody, leave me alone today? Leave me alone today, but you keep coming. And then have you ever got quiet and your quietness is danger? Actually, what you want me to do is you want me to keep talking, because if I keep talking, maybe we can negotiate. But if I get quiet on you, If I get quiet and we going back and forth and I'm arguing with you, there might be still a chance. But then if all of a sudden I get quiet and I say I'm just looking for the spot. I'm just looking for the spot, right? And so with that, the Lord is saying, now, I love you, and I made promises to you, but you hurt me. You hurt me. Now, I should have come for you, because you done already came for me. But you know what benefits you? I don't change. And because I don't change, look at the end of the text. Jacob, which is the children of Israel, that's the only reason you're not dead. I'd have consumed you. Can we look at verse 7? Let's go down to verse 7. Let me tell you, even from the days of your fathers, you are gone away from my ordinances, right? So we're going to go all the way back in time. All the way back in time, God said to Abraham, God said to Isaac and Jacob, I'm going to bless, I'm going to do these things, I'm going to take your children and I will do these promises for them. He told that to their fathers. What kind of God that we serve? A God that doesn't what? He doesn't change. So when he made those promises, we serve a God that does not lie. Our God does not lie. And so because God does not lie, he goes back and says, I remember the promises that I made with your fathers. Here's the problem. But since your fathers, you have walked away from me. Your children have disrespected me. Your children have not honored me. Your children have left the faith. They've left my ordinances. Notice who it said, and have not kept them. They're in the family of God, but they have not honored me. They don't read their Bible. They don't follow the text. They don't honor my word. They don't try to live holy. They don't try to live clean. What they did is they have been born into these promises, and after hearing my word, they walked away from them. Now, what I should do is I should come for you. But because I'm God and I don't change, when you sin, I remind myself of the conversation I had with your father. I want y'all to think about that. Every time you sin, I should come for you. I should have came for you on Wednesday. I saw what you did. Hey, the way you was talking on Thursday, I ain't talking about years ago. I'm talking about this past Thursday, I should have came for you. Hey, the way you behaved this weekend, I should have came for you. But when you sin, I go back to the conversation that I had with your forefathers, and I remember the promise that I made, and I don't change even though you do. And you were fickle because you were on and then you were off. And now some of you left my ordinances altogether. I saw you abandon me, and then I went back to the conversation that I had with your forefathers, and I don't change. And me not changing, here's what you don't realize, is the only reason that you're here this morning. You're not here because, this is why it's really arrogant when somebody says, I'm better than you spiritually. We talked about the spirit of comparison a few weeks ago. Hey, for you to compare your sins with another person, that's because that's arrogant. Because even when you sin, God still should have came for you. And when he doesn't, every time you sin, God goes back to what he promised you. Brother Williams, what are some of the promises? I'll never leave you. You know I'll never forsake you. You know why it's hard to be? And I'm not even talking about romantic. Brother, sister, friends, family, husband, wife. You know it's hard to be in relationships? Because when life happens, for God to say, I'll never leave you. Do you know how some of these people act out here? Have you ever made a promise to somebody and you be like, I'm finna break this promise? No, for real. Like, have you ever told somebody, hey, I'm gonna be, and then you didn't realize what you had signed up for? Have anybody ever said, I ain't signed up for this? I'm not finna do this. Hey, you got 3 more times. We start giving strikes. You don't even play baseball. You over there starting giving strikes. You got 2 more times. You got 2 more times to do that. Do you know that God doesn't say 2 more times? You know what he says? I made a promise to you, and I know you wilding out right now, and I'm not gonna break my promise because I said I'll never leave you. The only way that oxygen can get into your lungs is that the Lord can't change. How many times have you used his breath to violate him? Now, let me tell you something. If I was God, I snatch. You can't cuss me with the oxygen I gave you. I wouldn't let you do that. And when you form the word, God, what? Give me you don't disrespect me with the gift I gave you. Hey, do you know how many breaths you take a day? How can you disrespect all them syllables? God with the air that he allows you to have every second of even when you are unconscious and sleep, he still allows, with your disobedient self, he still allows you to breathe in the middle of the night, even when you don't honor him. And he took care of you all night long, and then you wake up in the morning and you don't acknowledge him. If anybody ever been to a season when you starting to lose your eyesight? I had to tell the optometrist, why they so thick? I had to tell them when I was young, why it's so thick though? Because I gotta go to school. I can't do this. I'm pulling out of my back. I can't. Do you know the school I go to? The school I can't live. I can't live in that hallway. Not like this. I found out it was an extra fee. You have to pay a little extra fee back in to get them. Well, Mama, we need to do what we can. I'll pick some cans or something. We need to do what we can to get that extra fee in. That's too thick. Right? Have you ever started to lose your strength? Have you ever woke up in the morning and your knees went on retirement? I still consider myself young. I still consider myself young. I reached down one day and I picked, I said, and I used to walk my grandfather around. I used to like I have some aunties, they in their 80s, and hey, auntie, come on. I never thought for 2 days I was praying on accident. I said, what's happening to my, have you ever had something happen in your body? And then you realize, I didn't even know how important that third disc. I never even acknowledged the disc in my back. I just been living life. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking my prayer list changes. God, I thank you for all the disc that's happening in my, God, I thank you for alignments and ligaments, Lord. I thank you for just having the cartilage, Lord. Thank you for cartilage. All right? When you have migraines in your head and you ain't got no peace, you start thanking God for little things. You start thanking God for, oh Lord, I didn't realize that was a season where you could never go all the way up. And then God bless you in another season. And you go to the gas station and you say, fill it up. I know it don't mean nothing. I know it don't mean nothing to some of y'all, but but for a few people, to go to the gas station and say, fill it up. You didn't got dressed up. You didn't put your dress and your heels on. You didn't put your new suit on, put a tie on, because today a special day. Somebody say, where are you going? I'm going to the gas station. Why are you going to the gas station? Because God is doing a new thing today. Fill it up and take a picture. And you start realizing how blessed you are until you start disrespecting God. And have you ever been through a season where God starts taking little blessings away from you, and all of a sudden you don't fill up, you just putting like 12 on it? And you used to go to the grocery store and get everything. Now you have to select specifically what is the meal. And then all of a sudden you're feeling sluggish or tired. And you don't know why you're feeling drained. Sleep ain't what it used to be. There's no rest in your sleep. And you said, something's happening. Something's not right. You used to get along with everybody. Now all of a sudden you in conflict with all the people you love, and your world is, and then have you ever noticed that when stuff start happening, that's the moment you look up and say, God, what's happening? Can you imagine God saying, now I finally got your attention. Now, can we talk now? You've been ignoring me for a minute. He says, listen, they left my ordinances. They have not kept them. He says, look, return to me. Will you come back home? Like, come back home, like return to me. I should get you. You should, remember verse 6? He said, you should be consumed, but I'm not going to consume you. You know why? Because I'm God and I don't change. And the world is laughing at me. You know why the world laughs at God? The world laughs at God because the world sees you carry the title of Christian. They watch how you behave and say, what kind of God gets this type of disrespect? And God takes the disrespect and says, I will take it. And I made a promise to you. And I know the people in your life won't honor the promises they made to you. And you're constantly getting your heart broken by people. But I want to let you know, I'm not people. I'm not one of them. I'm God. I don't change. And so you got to understand, being in a relationship with you is hurting me. Please come home. Amen. He says, return to me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But then you said, look at the end of the text. He says, but then you said, we don't know how to come back. Where are we going to return to? Where are you going to return to? You've been gone for so long. Have you ever been there before? You've been gone for so long, you actually don't know how to come back home. Have you ever been at odds with somebody for so long that when you finally see them, y'all don't even know where to start? It's like so much stuff. It's like you want to say I'm sorry, but you don't know if you should start there. Should we talk about it? And then you almost just want to leave. We don't even know how to return. That's how long we've been gone. And that's how long I have not come for you. Like, I should have consumed you. That's how you've been gone that long, you actually forgot the way home. You forgot the address that you were raised up at. Does anybody remember the address of your first house or your first home? But if you're not careful, you'll be away from home so long, you'll be like, I forgot we lived there. You know what? That's right. There is that back street. You know, and have you ever gone back to your old house and you realize, you know what? I thought this front yard was bigger. You know what? I forgot about have anybody went back to your old elementary school? And you looked and said, boy, I thought this was the world. I thought this little hallway was the whole world. This was nothing. Look at this little toilet seat and little. We thought we was doing something big. Very quickly, I want you to turn your Bibles to Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 10. Therefore, fear thou not. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 10. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar. This is God talking. He's telling Jeremiah, you got to understand the context. They're in bondage, and the reason why there are slaves and in bondage right now is because they violated God. So here's something that God will do. God will not change, and he will honor his promises, but he will still punish you. God holding to his promises, saying, I'm going to whoop you, I won't destroy you. I will punish you, I will not throw you away. And let me tell you, sometimes the punishment feels like he threw you away, but he didn't. Some of y'all said, Brother Williams, I've gone through some very rough and difficult things in my life. Yeah, but you're still here. And the reason why you're still here is because God don't change. Now, Brother Williams, I done been through it. You know why. And sometimes the wrath of God will come. And when the wrath of God passes and you still here, because you could have been gone. Have you ever had somebody have a testimony? I should have been dead. But I'm still here. And the reason why you still here is because God don't change. He will fulfill his promise. And so he says through Jeremiah, he says, therefore fear thou not, O my servant, O Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar. And notice this, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. God would do it like this. I promise that your children's children will be blessed. But today, your daddy acting up. I need to get your daddy. I should remove your daddy, but I made a promise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to whoop your daddy, protect his seed. I'm going to make sure that you grow up, and then I'm going to handle him because I'm not a liar. Why my daddy still here? He done all kind of heinous things because God said he was going to bless his children's children's children. So sometimes God will tolerate. And sometimes God will be long-suffering with you because he made a promise to your mama that your children will be blessed. And so God is suffering you to protect his promise to your grandmother. And you think it's about you. You ain't even all that good. Somebody say, oh, God is so good to me. It's the goodness flowing down from generations. It ain't because you all that good. You may not even realize God don't forget prayers. So your great-grandfather, when he was on his knees, prayed to God, please, God, protect my family. You never heard the prayer. You never knew that your grandfather talked to God. You never even knew he gave that request, and you had no idea that God was going to honor it. And then stuff and doors start happening for you. Sometimes you can be in sin and doors open for you. And the reason why God will open up a door is because he remembers the conversation he had with your grandfather. And so he's going to honor that. Why? And sometimes God will open up a door and whoop you at the same time. And you over there feeling schizophrenic, saying, am I being blessed or cursed? And sometimes God is punishing you and honoring your past. And you're stepping into somebody else's prayer for you. Like if right now, if we said, Lord, bless the children, that they don't see harm. And God hears our collective prayer. This next generation of kids, they horrible, they bad. And they think they invincible. And what they don't realize is we prayed for them. They say, you know what, I'm smart. And you got to be smart like us so that way we don't get in trouble. No. The only reason you didn't get in trouble like that, because we prayed for you. And God heard our prayers. And God can sometimes still punish you while blessing you and honoring, because he doesn't change. Do y'all get that? Are we understanding that aspect of God? Let's keep reading. He says, and thy seed from the land of thy captivity. He says, and Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be in quiet, and none shall make him afraid. Look at verse 11. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, and I'm going to save thee. Now listen to me. If you don't get anything, if you note in this text, for those of you taking notes, if you can note this part, he says, though I make a full end of all nations. God, what you doing right now? I ain't make promises to them nations. I'm getting rid of them. So what's happening around you is that everybody around you is getting wiped out. You know why they're getting wiped out? Because they have dishonored me and they have dishonored God. So God says, though I'm making a full end, I'm ending their contract because I didn't make the promises to them. I'm making a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered you. Yet, I won't make a full end of what? Of thee, of you. Here's the thing, because you my child, I'm gonna get every one of your friends. And I'm gonna get all your family members. But guess what I'm gonna do with you? I may still punish you, but I won't make an end of you. I'm gonna hold you together. You know, there's a real thing called survivor's remorse. And a survivor's remorse is, we all did drugs together and all of y'all lost everything, but I survived. Hey, we all ran the streets together and we were all shooting up and stealing. Like we were all stealing growing up. Like we go to stores, we go to liquor stores, we would go rob people, we would hold people up. All of them died and I survived. Like everybody was sleeping around and everybody caught something but you. Survivor's remorse. Survivor's remorse is we were all wilding out and horrible and devastating things happened to them, but it didn't happen to me. It ain't because you smart. God says, I punished you by sending you to all these nations. But I'm now done with all of these nations and I'm going to destroy all of them. And even though you're in these nations, I'm going to destroy them. But when everything is, even though you're participating and doing the same things that they're doing, I'm going to destroy them and save you. And it's not because you deserve it. The reason I'm going to save you, because I remember the conversation that I had with your father. And I don't change. And I'm going to honor that. All right, let's look at the next text. Very quickly turn to Hebrews chapter 13. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. It's just one verse. Just one verse I want you to receive in your spirit. I just want you to get this one verse in your spirit. Y'all see that? The word of God should get you excited when you see it. Because this word means something. Now, Jesus Christ is the same. His daddy already told you who he was. I'm the Lord and I don't change. I'm consistent. You can depend on me. You can count on me. If I say it, I'll do it. If I promise it, you better expect it. It's going to happen. I'm God. I'm like that. I don't change. His son, Jesus Christ, is the same. Stop acting shocked. Don't be surprised. Jesus, what are you doing now? I'm the same. Jesus, when are you the same? I'll let you know when I'm the same. You want to pull out your calendar and you want to look at the clock? I'll tell you all the times where he's the same. That way you don't miss the show. He is the same yesterday. And guess what? He is going to be the same today. The same Jesus that you saw yesterday. That's why it doesn't make sense, because if the Lord brought you out yesterday, why are you doubting him today? He doesn't lose power. Do you know, in order for somebody to say I'm the same, that means they don't lose. The reason why you can't be the same, this is why I say people only do two things. They go up or they go down. Nobody stays the same. Because in order to stay the same, you have to control the elements. In order to stay the same, you can't lose power. Jesus doesn't lose power, and he controls the elements. So nothing can cause him to shift, because he controls and has made, John chapter 1, all things. And so with that, Jesus is the same yesterday. He is the same today. Now, just in case you were looking for a little wiggle room on that calendar, the end of the verse says, I just need you to know something. He gonna be like this forever. If you don't like Jesus on earth, you really ain't gonna like him in heaven. Because if he loved you yesterday, why you think that your behavior will cause him not to love you today? God the Father says, I know you wicked, but I'm not consuming you because I don't change. Even though you didn't honor your part of the contract, God says that doesn't mean that I'm not. Do you know why we go and preach to the whole world? Brother Williams, we don't need to go talk to them. They're not going to hear the gospel. They need to hear the gospel. You know why? Because God promised that all men will know the truth. And you know what? You know why I believe that God has allowed technology? Because God couldn't trust some of us to go and tell our neighbors, so he put it on social media. You've been living by your neighbor all these years and you won't even bring up Jesus Christ. You've been hanging with your family and your friends, and y'all been friends for 20 years and you ain't had one Bible study with, y'all not friends. I'm going to say this. If you're a Christian and you have a friend and you've known that friend for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you haven't had one Bible study about the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, y'all are not friends. That's a selfish relationship where you benefit personally. But if I really love you, I'm going to tell you about eternal punishment. If you're driving and I see that you're about to drive over a cliff, I don't even have to love you. If I care for you, I'ma scream out, stop the car, you're about to run off a cliff. And if I'm close to you and you know I'm living recklessly and you don't say nothing, you don't love me. Matter of fact, scratch love, you don't even like me. I at least warn people. I'll even warn my enemy. Hey, you probably, there's a nail under there. You probably don't want to. Yeah, whatever. Just get out my face, but just don't put your foot on it. You're gonna hurt yourself. I at least warn my enemies. I'm finna go. Nah, they already closed that. Don't do that. You're gonna waste your money. Thank you. Yeah, whatever. We're not even friends. But at least I'm gonna warn. Jesus is the same. Jesus the same. Here's the problem. If God ain't changing and Jesus ain't changing, somebody in this house needs to change then. You can't come to God and say, well, I ain't changing either. You're gonna lose. And only could be one Lord in the house. It's hard to have two alpha males living in the same house. My daddy comes and says, so when you leaving? I guess soon. I guess soon. Hey, because there can only be one man of the house. Amen. Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9 and verse 16. Jesus is doing some teaching in Matthew chapter 9, and he's letting you know what you don't do. So I want you to read the scripture as instruction of what you don't do, right? He's giving wisdom. So what Jesus uses is Jesus uses everyday products to explain. If you understand these elements and you understand how this operates, then with that, you know that if you understand this, then you should understand how you should move in your personal life, okay? So the Lord is doing some talking, Jesus is doing some talking, and we're gonna jump in the middle of his conversation in Matthew chapter 9 and verse 16. We're gonna jump in the middle of his conversation, and here's what he says. No man puts a piece of a new cloth on an old garment. He didn't say a worn garment. I'm talking like this is a real old garment. It has been stretched, washed, used, stretched, washed, used. It has been stretched, washed, used. It is now old. What you don't do is get a brand new fabric and put it on an old garment. First of all, the colors won't match. It was blue. I don't know. It's like dirty blue now, right? It's faded pictures, right? Come on, Case. It's faded something. No man puts a piece of new cloth on an old garment. Go back, and he tells you why. He tells you why. For that which is put in to fill it up takes from the garment. And what ends up happening is you will cause a greater tear. The new garment, the stitching, how it's not going to move. It doesn't breathe, right? That old garment, when you first put on those pants, they were tight. Now they don't. They kind of sag. They kind of there's some there's some shirts they used to fit snug. Now they just kind of lay, right? And they kind of warp to your body now. And if you go and buy some new jeans, you say, "Ooh, these are different." Because they knew the garments, they don't stretch like, amen. And so what happens is if there's a tear and you put on a new garment on there, what's going to happen is you're going to cause a greater tear. You don't put new garment on an old garment. He says, maybe you didn't get that example. Maybe you'll get the next one. Verse 17, neither do men put new wine, grape juice, amen. Grape juice, that's the new wine. Neither do men put new wine in the old bottles. What's gonna happen? If you know about wine, if you let it sit for a while, it gets stronger. When people say, I want that good wine, they don't want that wine that comes straight from the tree. They want that wine that's been sitting in that cellar for 65 years because it gets stronger over time. We drink of the fruit of the vine every Lord's Day. Some people are confused, but we ain't got that kick that I'm used to. No, it's not. It's not supposed to kick you. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to kick you. It's the new. But as it ferments, it grows, it expands. He says, listen, if you mix the two, what's going to happen is the bottle is going to break. And the wine runs out and the bottles will perish. But they put new wine into new bottles and both are preserved. What is he saying? If the Lord is going to come in your life, you can't keep that old stuff because it's going to tear you. Somebody say, I tried to come to Jesus, but coming to Jesus, it hurts. I know it hurts because you're holding on to that old stuff. Because you don't put a new garment, Jesus, with an old garment, you. So what we ask you to do is die and be born again and washed in the blood of the Lamb. Behold, all things become new. Be clean. And the psalmist says, Lord, make me a clean heart. Why you got to come and gut all this stuff out? Because as long as I keep this old stuff, trying to receive Jesus is going to tear me up. And it won't work and it won't fit. The reason why you don't put new wine and old wine, because it's going to need to expand and this is not going to grow. And so with that, what's going to happen is it's going to bust. Some of y'all, I tried to receive Jesus, but you was holding on to old stuff. So hopefully you're receiving what I'm saying this morning. The thing that you may need to do to receive the love and message of Jesus Christ is you gotta let that old stuff go. If you don't let that old stuff go, then all of that goodness that the Lord wants to give you is going to spill out. All of the beautiful blessings that God has for you is going to spill out. And so with this, you have to keep this in mind. I'm still here because God is faithful. And Jesus don't change. And because God is faithful and Jesus don't change, regardless of what you're going through, God and Jesus has consistently and faithfully worked you out of all of your past problems. So if he did it then, guess what? He can do it now. If you have fallen in the past and the Lord helped you get back on your feet And it just so happened that in this season, you have fallen and slipped. Guess what he can do? If he helped you get back up then, he can help you what? He can help you get back now. You thought you were gonna die. You were devastated. You didn't think you were gonna make it another day. And if the Lord brought you through then, what you worried about tomorrow for? And you know what the devil do? The devil will give you another threat, and your worry and your stress is just a sign you don't believe God is the same. God hasn't lost any power. I don't care what the economy looks like. I don't care who the next president is. I don't care what your finances look like. I don't care what your family looks like. I don't care what you have lost or what you have gained. God is still the same. So as you go throughout the furtherance of this week, the thing that you need to hold on to, the things that you need to trust is, God, I ain't never seen this day before. God, I don't know what's about to happen. God, I'm completely in the dark about my next step, but I know you, I trust you, you are the same. And what also gives me confidence is that Jesus is the same also forever. That's your future. So the same loving care that I got in my last storm is going to be the same loving care that I'm going to get in my next one that I didn't even see was coming. As Christians, you got to remove your worrying. Stop worrying. Stop worrying. Why are you worrying? What you worrying for? You still here. You're going to eat today. But Brother Williams, I ain't going to get that second plate. Well, maybe it ain't the season for second plates. Well, Brother Williams, I don't have everything that I want. But you're still here. He's taking care of you. Some of you still got your strength. You still got your awareness. And if you knew the joy that was coming, you would do a better job of enduring. And if Jesus had to endure, why you think you don't? So church, pick up your cross and stop worrying. He ain't gonna change. Do you know God? Do you know what hit? No, God don't do that because he don't change. I know God, he don't do that. God the same. Some of y'all know some people that don't change. Man, he was out there working hard. No, that ain't him. No, I know him. He don't work hard. Yeah, he lazy. You can trust in God. You ain't never had to wake God up in the middle of the night and remind him to make the sun shine. He is so consistent, you almost forget he's there. He is so faithful, and he is so always on time, not your time. God is so on time that he almost becomes invisible to you.
His church, that we might all be one, that we might all be one. Oh, that we might all be one. Ooh,